To watch these important lessons, subscribe to DP Education's YouTube channel right now. Click on the bell icon to stay updated on the latest lessons. Sri Lanka's largest free online school, DP Education.
Hello dear grade 7 children. Today we are going to learn the 12th lesson of the science textbook. That is biological processes. So as given in the name, this is a biology lesson, children. Now you all know when we learn science, there are 3 parts we are going to learn basically: biology, physics and chemistry, right? So this is a biology lesson. So what are the things we are going to learn under this lesson? Let's see. Right. So we are going to learn this lesson under 2 main topics, right? Organizational levels of life. So under this one, we are going to learn what is the way a certain organism body is made of, right? We are going to learn that it is made up of different other parts. And these other levels are known as the organizational levels of life, right children? And secondly, we are going to learn about the systems of the human body. So under this one, we are going to learn about 2 main systems. Those systems are the digestive system and the respiratory system. So this is the first time in science you are going to learn about human organ systems. So this year you are going to learn about 2 systems, digestive and respiratory. And the other years, the upper grades, you all are going to learn all the other systems in the human body accordingly. So let's start the lesson. Right. So our first topic is organizational levels of life. Let's go through this one. Here you can see 2 pictures. Wall made of bricks. This is a brick wall. And this is a picture, a diagram of a beehive. Right? Let's go through this. The brick wall is made up of numerous bricks. By combining one brick to another, we can make a brick wall. So what is the main unit, the basic unit or the smallest unit present in the brick wall, children? That is the brick. One brick can be considered as the basic unit. So this type of basic unit of a certain setup are known as building units. Right children, so when we consider the brick wall, as the brick wall is made by combining a large number of bricks, the brick is considered as the building unit of a brick wall. Right children, in the same manner, a beehive is composed of numerous hexagonal units. What is the meaning of a hexagonal unit, children? You all have learned in mathematics different types of shapes. This type of shape with 6 similar sides is known as a hexagonal shape or hexagon. Right children? So when you consider a beehive, some of you must have seen real beehives. Some of you must have seen these type of pictures as well. Right? Remember, a beehive is made up by combining this type of hexagonal chambers. So small compartments or small rooms. Okay children? So beehive is made by combining a large number of these type of hexagonal shapes. Right children? So when you consider the beehive, what is the building unit of a beehive, children? Now what is the meaning of a building unit? Building unit means the basic structure present in another larger unit. So if you consider the beehive as the larger unit, what is the smallest unit or the building unit? Building unit is this hexagonal shape unit or the hexagonal unit. Right children? Okay. So the living body also contains a large number of small building units. Now the brick wall is made by combining a large number of bricks. Right? Beehive is made by combining the large number of hexagonal units. In the same way, the living body is also made up by combining these type of small units. So under this first part, we are going to learn about what are those building units. These are known as building units or a structural unit is also correct. Right, children? Now, first of all, what is the meaning of an organism? Organism means living beings or a living body. What are the different types of or main types of living beings or living organisms, children? Do you remember in the first lesson of grade 6, we learned that there are 3 types of organisms, 3 groups of organisms. What are they, children? Plants, animals, and microorganisms. Right, children? So we are going to learn about those type of living organisms and how their bodies are made up of. Right? Okay. Now look at these pictures. Here human is given. Now human is a type of animal. We have learned that. Right, children? Human is a type of animal and here given a plant body. Right? This basic building unit is called the cell. Here we learned the living body contains a large number of small building units. What is the name given to this building unit, children? Now here in the brick wall, the building unit is the brick. Right? So in the organism's body, the body of the organism, what is the name given to this building unit, children? This basic building unit is called the cell. This is very important. Right? The basic building unit is called the cell. So all the organisms are made by combining these type of cells, small building units. Right? Can we see a cell? By now we know that we cannot see cells. Right? We learned so many lessons related to microscopic organisms and also we learned about the microscope as well. Now we know that we cannot see cell with the naked eye. So how do we observe a single cell? We can use microscopes. Right? So the cell is the structural unit of living organisms. What is the meaning of a structural unit, children? Now look at this one again. So when you consider this brick wall, this is a certain structure. Right? The structure. This is a structure. Beehive is also a type of a structure. Right? So when you consider the brick wall, it is made by combining the bricks. Number of bricks. Therefore, by combining these bricks, the structure of the brick wall is made. Therefore, we can consider the structural unit, building unit or structural unit is the brick. Right, children? In the same way, because by combining a large number of cells, an organism is made, right? Especially animals and plant bodies made by combining a large number of cells. We call this the structural unit of living organisms is the cell. By combining a large number of cells, the structure of the organism is made. Right? Therefore, this is also important. The cell is the structural unit of living organisms. Right? Now, when we consider the cells based on the type of the organism that contained in, there are 2 main types of cells. The cells present in the animal bodies are known as animal cells, and the cells present in the plant body are known as plant cells. So in the upper grades, you all are going to learn the similarities between these animal and plant cells and also the differences. There you are going to learn there are so many similar characteristics between these 2 types of cells and also there are so many differences too. Right, children? The structural unit of a plant is referred to as a plant cell. Structural unit of a plant is referred to as a plant cell. And the structural unit of animal is referred to as an animal cell. So this year we are going to learn that there are 2 types of cells called animal cells and plant cells. But in the upper grades, we are going to learn the differences between these 2 types of cells. And there are similarities too, as I mentioned y'all. right? So structural unit of an animal is referred to as an animal cell. Right, children? Okay, we'll move on to the next. Right, we have an activity to do. So this type of activity we have done even before under microscope lesson. Even last year we observed certain cells. Okay, observe the cells in lower epidermis of beetle leaf. What is the meaning of lower epidermis? So when you consider a plant leaf, it has two surfaces, right? Its upper surface and lower surface. So when you consider the plant, let's say if this is the plant and if these are the leaves, right? The upper side, which faces the sunlight. Now to the upper side, sunlight directly falls on the upper side or upper surface of the leaf. So this is the upper surface and the underside of the leaf is known as the lower surface. Okay? So observe the cells in lower epidermis of beetle leaf and cheek cells. Cheek cells, do you remember we discussed about human cheek cells in the 10th lesson as well under microscope lesson. Right? So observe the cells in lower epidermis, the underside of the beetle leaf, and cheek cells with the help of your teacher using a light microscope, because now we know that we cannot observe any cell with the naked eye or even with a hand lens. We need the help of a microscope, right? Then try to identify plant cells and animal cells. So using the beetle leaf, we are going to observe the plant cells. Using the cheek cells, we are going to observe the animal cells. We will do this activity in the lab now. Right, children. Now we are going to observe some cells under the microscope. Now you all are very familiar with observing cells under the microscope, because even in the 10th lesson, under microscope lesson also we learned how to prepare slides, how to observe cells and all, right? So now today I am going to show you all the cells of a lower epidermal tissue of beetle leaf and also human cheek cells. Okay, so I'm not going to make the slides now. Instead, I'm going to show you all the permanent slides we have already made. Okay, children? Right. So first of all, now you all can see I have the microscope here. We learned how to operate the microscope, how to focus light and how to adjust all the other parts of the microscope. Therefore, I have already done that, right? So I'm going to first of all observe the lower epidermal cells of the beetle leaf, okay? Right. Right, children. So you all know that when we place the specimen on the stage, the low power should be aligned with the stage, right? Okay. So you all can see this is the low power. I'm going to place this. And I'm going to adjust this. Right, children. I'm going to increase the power before I show you all. Right, children, check whether you all can see the cells. Check whether you all can see the cells, children. You all can see the cells of the lower epidermal tissue of the beetle leaf. Right, we'll focus on one part. Right, observe carefully. Check whether you all can see. You all can see when you consider these cells, some of them are different in shapes. You'll be able to find there are two types of cells. Can you all see the stomata? Around the stomata there are two cells, kind of bean-shaped cells. Right, children? So there are bean-shaped cells in stomata, covering the stomata. And then you all know that it is important. Stomata is important for exchange of gas in plants. Right, children? Right. So I will remove this slide. And then I'm going to put it to the low power before I remove the slide. Okay. Now I'm going to take the permanent slide of human cheek cells. Right. Now when you consider now these low epidermal cells of the beetle leaf means those are plant cells. Now we are going to observe animal cells. Now different types of animal cells are there. I am going to show you all the permanent slide of human cheek cells. Okay, even this one we have observed before during the 10th lesson, right? So we will mount this on the stage. Right, children. Can you all see, check whether you all can see the cells kind of oval shape and some are almost round, oval shaped cells. Right, children. You all can see the cheek cells now very clearly. They are kind of oval or some of them are round shaped cells. Can you all see them clearly? So this time the shape of these cells are different than the previous slide. Okay, beetle leaves. Right, children. So you observed two different types of cells. So under plant cells, you all observe the lower epidermal tissue of the beetle leaf, and under the animal cells, you all observe the human cheek cells. Right. So in the lesson, we learned that the basic unit or building unit of organism is known as the cell, right? And at the same time, after doing this activity, it's very clear that these organisms are made up of different types of cells and they are different from each other too. Right, children? So you observe those slides. Okay, so I showed you all two slides, the microscopic view of cells in low epidermis of a plant leaf or a beetle leaf we took, right? And the microscopic view of stained human cheek cells, stained cells. Now, when we consider the plant cells, because of the presence of chlorophylls, the green color pigment, there is a certain color. But when we consider animal cells, in order to observe them very clearly, we need to use stained specimen, right? Stained means a color, certain color should be added in order to observe those cells very easily under the microscope, right? That's why here it's given the microscopic view of stained human cheek cells, right? Do you remember we had to identify when you consider the lower epidermis of a plant leaf, there were different types of cells. Now can you see even here you can identify those cells. Look at these cells. You can see these bean-shaped cells present here. And here in between these two bean-shaped cells, there's an opening. What is this opening, children? Those are known as stomata. Even here you all can see. Tiny opening. Tiny opening. Right? This tiny opening is known as a stomata. Right? What is the importance of a stomata, children? Why do plant leaves need stomata? That is because you all know that during photosynthesis, the plants need to absorb carbon dioxide from outside. And at the same time, during respiration in plants, oxygen is produced as a byproduct. So this oxygen also should go out of the plant. It should be given out of the plant towards the environment, to the atmosphere. Right, children? So how does this happen? Through these stomata. Right? Carbon dioxide gas enter the plant leaves through stomata, and at the same time, the oxygen gas is released to the atmosphere also through the stomata. Right, children? So the size of the stomata can be increased and decreased using these two bean-shaped cells, and these are known as guard cells. Right? These are known as guard cells. We'll simply label. Remember, you don't need to memorize to label any of these things. Just for extra knowledge, I'm teaching these things, right? So these are known as guard cells. These are guard cells. And this tiny opening is called the stomata. Right? Guard cells and stomata. Okay, children? So using the guard cells, the size of the stomata can be changed. Okay? So apart from these guard cells, now guard cells are a certain type of cells. Right? Apart from guard cells, the other parts of the leaf contains another type of. Now you all can see here. These are the other parts, the other types of cells. Right, children? The lower epidermis contains these type of structures. Okay, which means when we observe the lower epidermis, not only one type, we could see several types of cells. Okay, children? So, cell is a building unit of this structure. This structure is made by combining different types of cells. Right, children? Okay. So, here we observed a specimen of human cheek cells as well. There also you observed, now here, look at the shape. Because now here in this picture, we can see certain cells very clearly because many cells present together. Right? Okay. Now this is the shape. Right? Okay. So this is the shape of the cell. So certain specific shape of cells were there even in this specimen. Right, children? So when you consider now here cheek cells, the shape is like this. But if you consider another part of the body, let's say that when you consider blood, there are different types of cells. There are three main types of cells in blood: red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. So when you consider red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets, their shape is different from each other. Right? So it's very clear that it's not the same way the cells present when you consider a human or any other animal or even a plant body. There are different types of cells in different places. Their functions also different. In the upper grades, you all are going to learn what are their functions. I will give you just some certain examples related to the human body when you consider. Now, I just explained you all, there are three different types of blood cells. Right, red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. Now, as an extra additional knowledge, I will explain these things. When you consider the red blood cells are very important to transport oxygen throughout the body. So, when you inhale oxygen, this oxygen should be taken to all the other places of the body. Right? So, it is done by the red blood cells. At the same time, during respiration of your body produces carbon dioxide gas. Now, this carbon dioxide should be released, should be given out of your body. Therefore, carbon dioxide gas should be brought to the lungs. Now, it will be very clear when I explain the respiratory system after this. Right, children? So, carbon dioxide gas is also brought to the lungs by the red blood cells. Right, children? So, what about the white blood cells? So, the importance of red blood cells is basically to transport oxygen towards the cell and to take carbon dioxide towards the lungs, right? And at the same time, when you consider white blood cells are very important to destroy the germs that enter your body or the foreign bodies that enter your body, right? So for your immunity, the white blood cells are very important. So which means there are different types of cells in our bodies, in the organism's body, but at the same time, they are different from each other. They are not always the same. They have different structures. Their shape is different and their functions also could be different. Right, children? Therefore, now it is very clear we learn about the cells as a structural unit. Right? Structural unit. The structure is made by cells. Now you know structure, these structural units or the cells can be of different shapes and at the same time the different functions as well. They have their particular function to do. Right, children? Let's move on to the next. Right. We have this assignment to do. Now assignments are very important, children. You can use these type of assignments to improve your knowledge. You can read more about the subject matter and all, right? Collect historical information regarding discovery of cell and present them to the classroom. Right? Discovery of cell and present them to the classroom. So how to find information? You can ask your teachers. Right? You can read books, go to the school library and find books related to the cells and who discovered these things and all. Right? So if you have access to internet, this is another very important way to, very easy way to find out these type of information. You can easily find any information through the internet. Right? So you will realize I will simply explain you all. The cell was discovered by, for the first time it was discovered by the scientist called Robert Hooke. Right? Robert Hooke observed cells for the first time. Right? So who observed microorganisms for the first time? It was Robert Hooke, and in the 10th lesson we learn about Antony von Leeuwenhoek. Right? So Antony von Leeuwenhoek and Robert Hooke, they observed the microorganisms for the first time. Right, children? So Robert Hooke observed or discovered cells, and you can read more about these type of information. So you all know that in order to observe cells, you can't do it with a hand lens or with your naked eye. You need the help of the microscope. So therefore, you can, when you do this report, you can add a bit of the history of the microscope as well, because it's also very important. Right, children? Therefore, when you do this report, you have to read well. You can even do it as a group activity. You can divide work among your friends, and one person can find information about the discovery of cells. One person can find information about the history of the microscope or who invented it and all. Likewise, you can do it as a group activity and you can present it to the class so that you can share your knowledge. Right, children? Let's move on to the next. Right. Now we are going to learn about the next topic, unicellular organisms. What is the meaning of unicellular organisms? Uni means one. The organisms with only one cell are known as unicellular organisms. Right? The organisms with one cell. How many cells do we have? We have a large number of cells. Right? So unicellular organisms are the organisms with a single cell or a one cell. Right? Some of the organisms are represented by a single cell. Therefore, they show a simple organization. Because they have only one cell, therefore their structure is very simple. Right, children? Some of the organisms are represented by a single cell. Right? Therefore, they show a simple organization. Right? They don't have special organs, complex organs in their body. Only one cell is there. Right? The basic functional unit of an organism is called the cells. What is the meaning of the functional unit? Functional unit of an organism is called the cell. Right? Now, as I told you all, in this lesson, we are going to learn about two systems, two human systems. What are they? The respiratory system and the digestive system. Even though we did not discuss about these systems yet, you all have a certain idea that what are the functions of those systems. So when you eat food, food gets digested by the digestive system, which means that system has a specific function to do. Another system in our body is blood circulatory system. It's made up of your heart and the blood vessels. So the heart pumps out blood, and the blood vessels take that blood pumped by the heart around the body. Right? So the function of the blood circulatory system is pumping or taking or transporting substances around the body that are dissolved in blood. Okay? So in that way, there are different systems in our body in order to do different functions. So when you consider the nervous system, you are going to learn it in the upper grades. The nervous system is made up of your brain and your spinal cord and all the other nerves. Now we all know that brain function, the brain can control all the other functions of your body. Right? Which means it has a specific function to do. Right? But when you consider these organisms with only one cell, how do they do these things? They don't have special systems to do these activities, children. So how do the functions take place? All the functions take place inside that single cell. Single microscopic cell, all the functions can take place. right? So when you consider the cell, now under the microscope, we can't observe the inner part, all the internal structures of the cell very clearly. In order to observe them very, very clearly, we need to use an electron microscope, right? So when you consider a cell, a single cell, a plant cell or an animal cell or any other cell, there are other parts, small parts present in the cell, right? These are very, very small. You all know the cell, like let's take the cell itself is a microscopic object. Therefore, all the other parts, tiny parts present inside the cell are way too small. Therefore, they are way too small to be called organs. Therefore, we can't call them organs. Now, in our body, heart is one organ, brain is another organ, right? But inside the cells also, those type of tiny organs present, we don't call them organs. Instead, we call them organelles. Organelles. Right, children? So each part, each organelle has a specific function to do. For example, there's a tiny part, tiny organelle in the cell. It is known as the nucleus. Just like our brain controls all the other body functions, this nucleus can control all the other functions of the body. Right, children? Now, we all know that we inhale oxygen, exhale carbon dioxide. Even though we are going to learn the main system this year under this lesson, we have a rough idea about how it happens. Right? That is done by our respiratory system. Right? Which means, in grade 6 also we learned that to produce energy, we need oxygen. Right? Our body should be provided with oxygen. So when you consider the cell also, that oxygen should be provided and that respiration or production of energy should take place, right? That is also done by another organelle called mitochondria. No need to memorize any of these names because you all are going to learn them later. Right, children? So the nucleus in the cell can control all the other functions of the body. There's another organelle called mitochondria, right? They can produce energy. Therefore, they are known as energy banks in the cells, right? So inside the cell, nutrients can be produced, right, children? Waste matter produced inside the cell is also given out from other parts in the cell, which means even though we cannot see cells, a cell can work on its own. Right? A cell can work on its own, can do all the functions by itself. Therefore, because of this reason, the cell is known as the functional unit as well. Right? The basic functional unit of an organism, the basic functional unit of an organism is the cell. Right? The basic functional unit of an organism is called the cell. What is the basic structural unit of an organism? That is also cell. When you consider an organism, the smallest structure present in that organism is also the cell. What is the basic functional unit? Basic functional unit means the smallest unit that can work on its own is also the cell. Therefore, the basic structural unit and also the basic functional unit of an organism is both are cells. Right, children, the basic functional unit of an organism is called the cell. That is why, because the cell can function on its own, unicellular organisms can survive on their own. Unicellular organisms are the organisms that present or live as a single cell. Right, children? So, microscopic views of some unicellular organisms are shown below. We discuss these things in grade 6 as well. So, you are familiar with these terms, okay? Amoeba, euglena, paramecium. Do you remember what we learned about amoeba and all? Now, amoeba can change its shape time to time. That's because amoeba can move from one place to another place by changing its body parts. These tiny body parts, like leg-like parts, are known as pseudopodia, right? You are going to learn. These are all extra information, but that's fine. Okay? So you can, it's good when you learn science, we have to learn some additional information as well. right? But no need to memorize them yet, okay? So, amoeba lives as a single cell. Now, if you observe this very carefully, you can see this dark colored area here. This dark colored area, this is the nucleus. I told you all nucleus controls all the other functions of a cell, right? So we discussed about euglena as well. Now euglena, in order to move, it has this hair-like structure at one end of its body. It's known as a flagella or flagellum, right? So when you consider paramecium, we always consider paramecium has a slipper shape, right? It has this type of slipper shape, and it has, even though in this picture we can't see around it, it has tiny hair-like structures. These are known as cilia. Right, children? So these are some of the unicellular organisms that we have studied already. Right? Okay. Right. We have this activity to do, practical. Try to identify unicellular organisms by observing a sample of water taken from freshwater pond and hair stagnated in water. We discussed this one as well in grade 6. We observe these things, right? Freshwater pond. Now here what happens in a pond? Water will not move from one place to another place. So this type of water contains a lot of microorganisms. The same way, hair stagnated water. How to make hair stagnated water? You have to take hair and you have to immerse it in a water beaker, a water glass of water, and let it be there for about a week. Right? Now this water also doesn't flow from one place to another place, and because of the presence of hair, certain microorganisms can grow in this medium. So what you have to do, you have to take a sample from a freshwater pond, and you have to take a sample of hair stagnated water, and you have to observe drop of each of them under the microscope, and we are going to do this activity now. Right, children? Now we are going to observe some unicellular organisms. Okay, children. So in order to observe the unicellular organisms, here I have two samples, okay, where we can find the unicellular organisms, okay. Now this is a pond water sample, okay, taken from a freshwater pond. And this is a hair stagnated water sample. Now here you all can see how to prepare this sample. You can immerse some hair in water for about a week, and then it becomes a solution rich in these type of microorganisms, unicellular organisms, okay? Right. So first of all, I'm going to prepare a slide using this pond water sample. First of all, I'm going to take this glass slide. Now you all know in the previous lesson we learned that when we make cover specimen, we have to always use clean glass slides and the cover slips. So I have clean glass slides and cover slips today, okay? Right. So first of all, I'm going to take a drop of this pond water sample onto my slide. First, I'm going to make my own sample, and then we are going to observe under each different types of unicellular organisms. We are going to observe the permanent slides as well, right? First, we'll make our sample and then we will observe, right? So using the cover slip, I need to cover this drop of pond water, right? And after that, you all know you need to wipe off the excess water. So I'm going to use this tissue, otherwise it will harm the microscope, right? Okay. Now it's ready to observe. Low power is on. Right, children. Check whether you all can observe the slide clearly. Right, you all can see small dots like parts. Some of
them are non-living and some of them are microorganisms. Can you all see some organisms are moving, slightly moving? Right, children? Because now you all can see some of them are moving because this is a liquid sample so that they can move. Right, children? Okay. So some of these organisms are not very clear, but I am going to show you all a permanent slides as well. Therefore, after this, we will observe the permanent slides, right? Okay. Now I am going to show you all the hair stagnated water sample too. I am going to move this. And in the same way, I am going to prepare the slide using a drop of hair stagnated water. Here it's almost brownish in color. You all can see the color. I'm going to take a drop of this and going to cover it with a cover slip. Now you all are familiar with making slides. Right. Okay. And then the excess water I'm going to wipe off with the tissue. Right. Right, children. We will observe this now. Okay. What can you all see, children? Again, you can see tiny organisms. Some are moving fast. Check whether you all can see. Some look like tiny dots and some are like kind of rod shaped. Okay? Right. Okay. So we observed two samples in order to identify different types of unicellular organisms. We could see organisms, but these type of samples, it's a little difficult to identify what exactly is the unicellular organism is. Therefore, I'm going to show you all the permanent slides of unicellular organisms. Okay? Right. Going to move this one. First, I'm going to show you all the slide of amoeba. Right? Permanent slide of amoeba. You'll see this. Right, children. Can you all see the slide clearly? You can see it's like pink in color. Observe carefully, children. You all can see clearly that is the amoeba. Right, children? Okay. Right. So this is how you can see the amoeba. Now you all can see this in these colors because stain or color is added for easy observation. Okay, children? So that is the amoeba that we observed. I'm going to put this back to low power and take it out, and then we are going to observe the, now I'm going to show you all three slides. Second one we are going to observe is Euglena. So all these unicellular organisms, they normally function as a single unit. Okay? Right. Okay, children. Can you all observe the cells? Check whether you all can observe the cells, children. I hope it's very clear. Kind of bundle shaped, kind of elongated shaped cells present. Okay? That is Euglena. They look kind of blue in color. Okay? So elongated cells present. Okay, children? So that's how you can see Euglena. Then we will observe our last permanent slide, Paramecium.
So paramecium also can be seen in these type of water samples that we observed already. Okay.
Can you all see the shape? Parameciums have a slipper shapes. They are kind of slipper shaped cells. Observe carefully, children. In the upper grades, you all are going to learn more about these organisms. For now, we are going to only observe them. Right, children?
Okay. So, in order to observe the unicellular organism, we observe 3 different types of permanent slides, and also we made 2 samples out of this, pond water and also haze stagnated water. I hope this part was clear. Right, children. So, you all observe that. So, I showed you all the microscopic view of these 2 samples. The samples were the water taken from freshwater pond and haze stagnated in water. Right? We observed these 2 samples, and even I showed you all the permanent slides of the samples of those microorganisms or those unicellular organisms. So I hope you understood this part now. Okay? Right. Okay. Now we are moving to this very important topic, the organizational levels in living body. Now we know that the basic structural or the basic building unit of an organism is the cell. And at the same time we learn that some organisms have only one cell. They are known as unicellular organisms. Right? And now we are going to learn about the other type of organisms with many cells. Now some organisms, they are made up of only one cell. They have in their whole body, they have only one cell. Because the cell can function on its own, it can survive. That organism can survive. Right, children? Now we are going to learn about the complex form of organisms. All the other, apart from those unicellular organisms, all the other organisms are made up of number of cells. Therefore, these are known as multicellular organisms. Right? Except for unicellular organisms, all other organisms are made up of a few cells or a large number of cells. Some organisms are there, they are made up of a few cells. They also have a very simple body structure. What about all the other plants and animals? Normally, we all have a complex body, right? So, we are made up of a large number of cells, right? They are called multicellular organisms. Multi means many because they have a large number of cells, many cells. These type of organisms are known as multicellular organisms, right? They show variations in levels of organizations. What is the meaning of this? Their bodies are made in a certain way. So under this topic, we are going to learn what is that way. Step by step, we are going to learn, right? So they show variations in levels of organizations. The level of organization from simple level cell to complex level organism is given below. Here it's given the level of organization from simple level cell, which means the simplest form is cell. We learned it before, right? We learned the basic unit of organism is, or basic building unit of organism is cell. So it always starts from cells and it gets more complex from one step to the other step, right? So from simple level cell, we'll write the cell here. This is a flow chart that shows these levels of organization of living beings, right? So it starts with cell. Here it's given from simple level cell to complex level organism. So organism is made by combining a large number of cells. So this should be the organism. What are all the other steps? There are 3 important steps to follow here. What are these steps? So I'm going to show you what are the other steps and we are going to discuss under each step separately too, right? Remember children, it always starts with one cell. By combining many cells, another structure is called the formation of, by combining a number of cells. More than one cell is known as tissues. We are going to learn the correct definitions of tissue and all the other parts as well. When cells combine with each other, a tissue is formed. Right? So we are going to learn that tissue is made by combining the same type of cells, so maybe different types of cells as well. Okay? And tissues have certain functions, certain features that we are going to learn about. Right? So by combining number of cells, a tissue is formed. Next, by combining number of tissues, then what is formed? Organs. An organ is formed by combining a number of tissues. Right? So here as examples we are going to learn about blood tissues. Blood tissue, I explained you already, blood is made by combining different types of cells. When you consider blood tissue, there are different types of cells, red blood cells, white blood cells, platelets as well. Right? So blood tissue has those cells. When you consider organs, organ is made by combining number of tissues. Right? For example, we are going to learn about heart as an organ. We can take heart as an organ. Right? Heart is made by combining large number of muscular cells. Heart has a special type of cells called muscular cells, muscle cells. At the same time, blood cells also there, because blood is also supplied towards the heart as well. Therefore, blood tissue is also there. And a nervous supply, nerves also go there. Therefore, nervous tissue is also there. Therefore, organ is formed by combining different types of tissues. Then what? The next one is system. We can even consider organ system, right? So when you consider your nervous system, now about the system, even though you haven't learned them before, you have heard of the names. Digestive system, respiratory system, nervous system, blood circulatory system, likewise. Okay, so when you consider the system, for example, if you take nervous system, the nervous system is made by combining number of organs. What are the organs? Brain is one organ. Your spinal cord is one organ. Your nerves are the other organs. So basically, when you consider the nervous system, it is made by combining different organs, the brain, the spinal cord and the nerves. Right? So when you consider the nervous system, what are the organs? Brain, spinal cord and nerves. Therefore, it's very clear that a system is made by combining number of organs. Right? When you consider the blood circulatory system, it is made by combining main organs like heart, blood vessels and blood. Okay, those are the organs. Okay, children? So now we completed the flow chart here. So according to this flow chart, when you consider the multicellular organisms, their body is made in this manner. Right? By combining number of cells, a tissue is formed. When you consider a tissue, it has a special type of structure and functions too. By combining a number of tissues, an organ is formed. When you consider organ also, there's a specific function it has to do. Right, children? So if we take heart as an organ, it has to pump. Its main function is pumping blood throughout the body. Right? So organs also have specific function or many functions as well. For example, if we take our skin also is an organ. Now remember, skin is the largest organ. So when we consider the skin has number of functions. The main function is it can cover the entire other parts of the body. It protects our body. Right? At the same time, skin is very important for sensation. You can feel because of the sense. So as a sensory organ, skin is important. At the same time, skin can get rid of waste substances. You all know when the outside is hot, we start sweating. During sweating, unnecessary amount of water and also some salts also is given out of the body. Therefore, getting rid of waste material is another function of the skin. Likewise, so when you consider organs, they have at least one function or many functions as well, the same organ. Right? So a system is made by combining number of organs. When you consider system, it has a main function and also the other functions as well. What about the organism? Organism body is made by combining several types of systems. Number of systems combined together to form the organism. Right, children? So in this way, I hope this flow chart is very clear. You will understand this better when we learn about each of these links. Right? So we are going to first learn about the cell. Now you all are very familiar about the cell. We learn more about cell. Therefore, we will see. Right. So the cell is the basic structural and functional unit of life. Right? So when you consider a complex structure, what is the smallest unit or the building unit of that structure, the living organism? That is the cell. What is the smallest structure in the living body or the organism's body that can function on its own as a separate unit? That is also the cell. Therefore, the cell is the basic structural and the functional unit of life. Very important. So the cell is the building unit of living organisms and the simple functioning unit too. It's very simple. It is microscopic, but it can function on its own. Therefore, when we consider cells, it's the basic functional unit and also the basic structural unit too. Right, children? Because we learned about the cells before, including examples. Now this part is very clear. What is the next level, children? After cells? Cells combine to make a tissue, right? Let's see. Tissue is the next topic, next level of organization, right? A tissue is a group of cells organized for a specific function. Now, even earlier during the flow chart also I explained you all, specific tissue is made by combining a group of cells. Okay, children? Tissue is a group of cells organized for specific function. Right? It has a certain function to do, certain job to do, right? Okay. We have this activity to do. You will need a permanent slide or a picture of a muscle tissue. So I'm going to explain this part using a 3D picture, right? A slide with a lower epidermis from a plant leaf. Do you remember we already observed this one? Do you remember we observed that lower epidermis of a plant tissue and I explained y'all that plant tissue is made up of different types of cells. It had guard cells which can increase and decrease the size of stomata, and also it was made up of the other type of cells too. Right, children? Observe those specimens using a light microscope. We already did the second part. Identify different kinds of cells in them. Right? When you observe under light microscope, you can identify different shaped cells present. It was very clear when we observed the low epidermis of a plant leaf. There were different types of cells. Do you remember? The guard cells were present like this. The bean-shaped guard cells were present. Right, children? And combining them. Now, this was the stomata. These are stomata. The tiny hole present in between the guard cells are known as stomata. So, apart from that, there were the other cells in the low epidermis of the plant leaf. Okay. So, when you consider these cells, their shapes are different. Right, children? When you consider the guard cells, you can clearly identify they have a bean shape. The other cells are different from them. Therefore, when you consider this as a tissue, the lower epidermis as a tissue, it is made up of different types of cells. So, we learned a tissue is a group of cells, right? Different types of cells. This even can be the same type of cells as well. It doesn't have to be different from each other. Here it is different, right? A group of cells together. So this group of cells together is known as the lower epidermis tissue of a plant cell. It is a type of a tissue. Now using a 3D picture, I'm going to explain you all about the picture of a muscle tissue. We'll do that now. Look at this 3D view of a human body. You all can see very clearly here. Right. So this is the muscular. You all can see in this brown color. The muscles are given here. Right? This is the picture of a 3D view of a muscular system of a human body. Right? So muscular system is made up of different types of muscles, muscle tissues. Now, when you consider the human body, there are 3 different types of muscle tissues. You are going to learn about these different types later. Now, here you all can see skeletal muscles. The muscles that are connected to the skeletal system is given here. Right? So here you all can see the muscular tissue, the muscle tissue. Right? So all the other parts, all the body parts are covered with different types of muscles. So their function, the way they behave, different from place to place. Okay? Remember now here in this picture given the muscles are all the muscles connected to the bones here from outside. Right, children? Okay. So I will select some of these muscles and I'm going to remove them. So then inside them we can see the skeletal tissue as well. Right, the bones also can be selected. So I will select some of these. Now here I can select. Now these are different muscles. That's why I have to select them separately. So muscular tissue. So underneath the muscles, what is present, children? You all can see the bones here. Right? You all can see now this is the chest area. This area is known as the thorax or thoracic cavity. Right? Thoracic cavity or thorax area. This is the chest area or chest cavity or thoracic cavity. Right? Here I will simply remove some more muscles. So these are the muscles. Right? Now here you all can see the rib cage. The bones present in the ribs. Right? When you consider these bones, the skeleton is made up of skeletal tissues. Right, children? The muscular system is made up of muscle tissues. The skeleton is made up of skeletal tissues. Right? By combining skeletal tissues, the skeleton, different parts of the skeleton is made, and then the whole skeleton, the skeletal system. Right, children? So if you remove further of these muscles, you will see the other parts of the skeleton too. Here, this area is known as the pelvic region. So when it comes to the skeletal system, pelvis is one organ. Right? So those organs are made by bone tissues or skeletal tissues. Right, children? I hope this part was clear now. Right, children? So you observe the picture, the 3D picture of the muscle tissue, and I showed you how the bones are covered with the muscles too. Right, children? Okay. So tissues have the following features. Now we already know that tissues are made by combining different types of cells, the same type or different types. Okay? Contain same shaped cells or different shaped cells. So in the upper grades, you all are going to learn about this muscle tissue. Now when you consider the skeletal muscles means the muscles that are connected to the skeleton, the bones, right? The muscles that are combined with the bones, they have same shaped cells. Right? When you consider that we already learned about the lower epidermis of the plant, they have different shaped cells. Right, children? The blood tissue has different shaped cells. It depends. Right? So the tissues have the following features. Contain same shaped cells or different shaped cells. Right? Perform a common function. All the cells together, they perform a common function. Okay, children? Right. Now, here we have some examples. Different types of tissues found in living organisms. Okay. Cardiac muscle tissue. Now, cardiac muscle tissue, I told you all there are 3 main types of muscles in the human body. One type we already explained. Those are known as skeletal muscles. Another type is known as smooth muscles. They are related to, they are combined with your organs inside. And some other muscles are known as, the third type is known as the cardiac muscle. Cardiac muscles means the cardiac muscle tissue presents only in the heart. The only place where this cardiac muscle tissue is present is the heart. Now, cardiac means heart, okay? Because these special types of muscles present in the heart, they are known as cardiac muscles. So, that muscle tissue is known as cardiac muscle tissue. Right, children? So, cardiac muscle tissue, the blood tissue, I already explained you all about blood tissue. Now, here what you can see here are the red blood cells, right? And here we already observed this type of specimen, the lower epidermal tissue of the plant leaf. There you all can see the stomata and the guard cells are present on the either side of stomata and all the other cells. Right, children? Now we are going to lab to see some permanent slides of these tissues. Right, children? Now we are going to observe some tissues of plants and animals. Now you all know that a tissue is made by combining several types of cells. Okay, children? We'll observe, first of all, we are going to observe. Here I have 3 permanent slides. First of all, I am going to show you all the cardiac muscle tissue. Okay, children? Where can we find the cardiac muscle, children? Cardiac muscle means the muscle present in your heart. The only place that you can find this tissue is in your heart. Okay? Right. Cardiac muscle tissue. So these are permanent slides.
Right, children. Observe very carefully. Observe carefully whether you can see. It looks in pink color. And you can see some tiny dots also here and there. Okay, children? So you all can see these are the muscle cells in the cardiac muscle tissue. Okay, you all can see a large number of cells present. They look like tiny lines, pink color lines, because these cardiac muscle cells are long and they have small branches as well. Branched cylindrical cells. Okay, so if you observe carefully, you will be able to identify those type of cells. So the cardiac muscle tissue is made up of these type of large number of cylindrical branched cells. Okay, children? So every muscle is made up of by combining a group of cells. A group of cells is known as a tissue. Okay, so cardiac muscle tissue is made up of by combining cardiac muscle cells. Okay, right. We'll observe the next one. So here I have a human blood tissue, a specimen of human blood tissue. So when you consider human blood contains 3 main types of cells. In the upper grades you are going to learn they are known as red blood cells, white blood cells and platelets. Okay, so when we look through the microscope, we should be able to see different types of cells are there. Okay, so the blood tissue consists of different types of cells. We'll check whether we can see. Right, children. Observe carefully. You all can see a large number of tiny cells. Now here, so we cannot exactly identify which are red blood cells, what are the white blood cells and platelets, but you all can see this tissue is made up of very tiny, large number of tiny structures. These tiny round structures are the cells. Okay, children? So blood tissue is made up of group of cells, different types of cells. Okay? Right, children? Now we are going to observe the plant tissue. Now under this we are going to observe the lower epidermal tissue of plant leaves. Okay, so we'll see. Even before we have observed the lower epidermal cells of lower epidermal tissue of plant leaves, so we have an idea about how it would look like. Okay, right, children? Can you all see this specimen now? I think it's very clear now. Can you all see? You all can see the lower epidermal cells. There are basically two different types of cells you will be able to see. So those bean-shaped cells are known as the guard cells. So in between the guard cells, the stomata are present. Even earlier we discussed about that. So the other wavy cells present in the other part of the lower epidermal tissue of plant leaves. Okay, children? So even here we can understand that lower epidermal tissue is made up of different types of cells, group of cells. Okay, children? So a tissue means a group of cells. Okay, a group of cells together known as a tissue. So when we consider different organisms, they have different types of tissues based on the place, based on the function. The cells present in these different tissues are also different. So I hope this part is clear. After observing some permanent slides, you can understand about the different types of tissues better, right? Okay. So again, tissues, what are the main features of tissues, children? Collection of cells of same shape or different shapes, right? So when you consider cardiac muscle tissues, they are almost the same, right? The blood tissue has different shaped cells. The lower epidermal tissue of the plant leaf also has different shaped cells. Right, children? So collection of cells of same shape or different shapes perform one common function, but even though whether they are same or different, they together perform one common function. Right, children? They are combined to do a certain function. Right, children? So we have completed the first chapter of this lesson. So under this chapter, we learn about organizational levels of the living beings or the organisms. We learn that some of the organisms present as only a single cell. These are known as unicellular organisms. They have a very simple structure. They don't have different levels because their only level is the cell level. But when we consider multicellular organisms, there is a series of levels starting from cell, then tissue, then organ, then systems, and then finally the organism is made. So we learn about the cells and the tissues under this chapter. So we are going to learn about the other levels in the next chapter.
To watch these important lessons, subscribe to DP Education's YouTube channel right now. Click on the bell icon to stay updated on the latest lessons. Sri Lanka's largest free online school, DP Education.